Atheism. Ta'til, dismantling monotheism, that's atheism. Dismantling monotheism is denying the existence of Allah or any of his attributes. So if you deny his attributes, you're going to deny his existence also. This is the school of the Mu'tazila, atheists, and philosophers. So the Mu'tazila, who are the Mu'tazila? What did they believe? Okay, so the Mu'tazila, they're most noted for denying destiny. If you just said the Mu'tazila are the deniers of destiny in the nation of Muhammad, then yes, that's true. And you can add to that they deny the attributes of Allah. And they have some other beliefs too. Atheists, those are the people who deny the existence of God. Those are the people who deny the existence of God. And the philosophers, the practitioners of philosophy, we spoke about that before. All factions of Mu'tazila agree upon the denial of the attributes of Allah. They said that eternally he had no power, knowledge, will, sight, hearing, speech, or everlastingness. And that in eternity he had no name or attribute. So that's atheism. But they're not saying he doesn't exist. They're just beating around the bush. These are very bad people here who are talking like this. MashaAllah. Even if they put a turban or something like that and they said they were Muslims. Now, notice here. They said that he had no power, knowledge, will, sight, hearing, speech, or everlastingness. Power, knowledge, will, sight, hearing, speech, or everlastingness. What's not here? Life is not here. But they denied life also. So what are these attributes? Why they deny these attributes? What about existence? Isn't existence one of his attributes? So did they deny the attribute of existence? Not blatantly. They didn't say he doesn't exist. How about oneness? Did they deny his oneness and say he had a partner? No, they didn't deny that. What about eternality, that he has no beginning? They didn't deny that. What about that he doesn't require anything? They didn't deny that also. So why they deny these attributes and confirm those attributes? That's because these are two different categories here. You should understand that some of the attributes of Allah, their meaning is a negating meaning. That means they are negating something, not confirming something. So when you say Allah does not resemble the creation, that's negating something. You're saying he's unlike creations. He doesn't have a similar or a comparison. When you say Allah is eternal, that's negating that he has a beginning. When you say Allah does not need anything, that's negating that he has a requirement. Yeah, and when you say Allah is one, that's negating that he has a partner. So all of those are some negating attributes. Those are called salbiyah. We'll come back to talk about that. Salbiyah, which are the negating attributes. But these attributes here that they denied, they're not from the same category. Power is not merely negating something. That's actually confirming something. Power is not just to negate weakness, but really it's confirming an attribute. And also knowledge and will and sight and hearing and speech. When we say he's attributed with knowledge, we're not just negating that he's ignorant. We're actually confirming something for him. So the Mu'tazila were saying he doesn't have any confirmed attributes. That's what they're saying. They might say to you, if they spoke your language, Allah does not have any confirmed attributes. Or they might say, Allah does not have any attributes. So if they were to say, Allah does not have any attributes, this is what they mean. They mean he doesn't have any confirmed attributes. That's clear? They said that eternally he had no power, knowledge, will, sight, hearing, speech, or everlastingness. And that in eternity he had no name or attribute. They said eternally he didn't even have a name. And he didn't have an attribute. So it's like they're saying he wasn't even anything. But they don't say that. In fact, the philosophers and the former Mu'tazila, the older ones, they denied the attributes and said that there is no confirmed meaning beyond what is understood by the self. Yani they said Allah has a self. We confirm his self. And that's it. Not more. Nothing more. They said there is no confirmed meaning beyond what is understood by the self. For had there been, it would necessitate composition in the self. They're saying if he had attributes, then he would have composition. He would be composed. That's untrue. So this is because they have a bad comprehension. So someone might say, why are you calling them atheists? Didn't they say that Allah exists? Do they say he exists or not? Yes or no? Yeah, they do say he exists. So how can you say he's atheist then? That they are atheists then? Because what they say implies that he doesn't exist, even though they're saying he exists. That's just like when the Wahhabis, they say Allah doesn't resemble the creations. How can we say that they liken Allah to the creations? And they say out of their mouth, Laysa kamithlihi shay, nothing is like him. And they say, we can't imagine him. We're still going to say, you're a God comparer. How so? Because what you say means that. When you say he's over the throne and then he comes down at nighttime during the last third of the night and he has a foot, he puts it in hellfire and he will cast a shadow and all of these things, then even though you're saying he doesn't resemble anything, you're resembling him to things. You're likening him to things. So that's really what you believe. Not what you said, what you alluded to. That's what you really believe. And same thing for these people here. They will say Allah exists. He has a confirmed self. But he doesn't have any attributes in eternity, and he didn't even have a name. So he didn't have any name, he didn't have any attribute. So it means he didn't exist. Yes.
If they deny the confirming attributes, then how do they say he has a confirmed self? Like what proof do they use for that?
Well, they're going to say he has confirmed self. Self is not an attribute.
But what are they using to confirm to themselves that he is a self?
They would say his existence is a mental necessity. They would agree with us there. They'd say the existence of Allah is necessary. But they would say, but not that he has attributes, though. That's not necessary. They say, if he had attributes, then the attributes would be eternal. You said, that's true. He does have attributes, and they are eternal. So they say, but if he had eternal attributes, that means that there's more than one eternal one. And we say, that's not true. So then that goes to the topic of Allah is not his attributes and he's not something else either. Allah has neither his attributes nor is he something else. That's the right belief. Allah has not his attributes nor is he something else. He's neither his attributes nor something else. They don't believe here right. They have a mistake here. They say Allah has not his attributes and they stop there. Then that's going to lead them to a mistake. We say the right saying, he's not his attributes nor is he something else. So rather, he is a self with attributes. He is a one eternal self attributed with attributes. Eternal attributes. So that's the right belief. However, they have no difference among themselves that Allah has names and descriptions as far as the necessity of needing expressions is concerned. But to them, these expressions are figurative. They're saying he doesn't really have attributes, but there are words we can use for him. So we're going to say he's a knower, but not by knowledge. He's a knower by himself. And he's a speaker, but not by speech. He's a speaker by himself. And he's a hearer and a seer, but not by hearing and sight. Rather, by himself. So they deny the attribute They'll confirm the name though, the descriptive name, which is the adjective. They'll confirm that. They'll say he is a knower, he is a hearer, he is a seer, but not by knowledge and hearing and sight, rather by himself. So they deny his attributes. That's atheism, but it's a subtle atheism. It's not open. So if you don't catch it, you won't realize it. Furthermore, some of those who have merged hadith and philosophy, like Ibn Hazm, have denied the validity of the expression sifa. Some of the people in this realm of atheism, they denied even the word sifa altogether, which means attribute. They have inappropriately discredited the hadith in the two books of Sahih with the term sifatul Rahman, the attribute of Ar-Rahman. And there's other hadiths too, like we're going to see one here. Al-Bayhaqi also narrates from Ibn Abbas that the Prophet ﷺ said to the Jews after reciting Surah Al-Ikhlas to them, هذه صفة ربي عز وجل. This is the sifa of my Lord. So, sifa, this word sifa is confirmed in the hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ. Attribute. What we're saying here is, our right belief is that Allah is a that self that has sifat, attributes. Those people are saying he's a that only. Not a that has sifat. He's just a self without any attributes, they say. And some of them went further and they said, sifa, that's not even confirmed in the religion. The word sifa for Allah is not even confirmed in the religion altogether. That's what they're getting at here, some of them. So then we're saying, if they say that, then they would be denying some authentic hadiths. They have exaggerated in denying multiplicity to the extent that they said that his existence is a pure, unadulterated existence, with no other reality or type of thing ascribed to it. Yani, they're saying we are the true monotheists because we are the ones who believe in one eternal one. They say you so-called Sunnis, you are mushriks really, because you're the ones who say there's an eternal self and an eternal knowledge and an eternal power and an eternal will and eternal hearing and eternal sight. You're the ones who said that there's more than one eternal one. But we're not saying there's more than one eternal one. This talk doesn't mean that there's more than one eternal one. This talk means there's an eternal one who has attributes. Not more than one eternal self. There's one eternal self attributed with eternal attributes. This is all clear?
Yes.
For us, Allah has confirmed these attributes for himself in his glorious book. So it is obligatory to ascribe him with them, to confirm them for him. Additionally, it is impossible to confirm the existence of someone who has such names as knowledgeable and powerful while denying their linguistic origins, i.e., knowledge and power. If it is obligatory to confirm the names Al-Alim, the knowledgeable or the knower, and Al-Qadir, the powerful, then it is obligatory to confirm Ilm, knowledge, and Qudra, power. So what this means is, we have here two arguments for why we're confirming attributes for Allah. One of them is that Allah Ta'ala confirms them in the Quran. We're going to read some ayahs that confirm the attributes. And another reason is because these names of Allah are confirmed, even for our opponents in this case. The Mu'tazila would say, yeah, he is a knower, but not by knowledge though. And he's a hearer, and he's a seer, but not by hearing and not by sight, according to them. So they're confirming the name, the descriptive name, but they're denying the attribute. We're saying to them, that's invalid altogether, because he wouldn't be a knower if he didn't have knowledge. And he wouldn't be powerful if he didn't have power. He wouldn't be a hearer if he didn't have hearing, etc. We say to them, it doesn't make sense basically to say, he's a knower, by himself, not by knowledge. He's powerful by himself, not by power. It doesn't make sense. If you say that, you're basically making his self the attribute. If you say he's a knower by himself, not by knowledge. He's powerful by himself, not by power. Then you made himself the attribute. That's kufr. And not just you made himself the attribute, then also you made that one self all the different attributes too. Because he has one self. He is one self. So then, according to them, knowledge is power, and power is hearing, and hearing is speech, and speech is life, and life is etc. So all of that's invalid. That's all blasphemy. Allah said, وَسِعَ رَبِّي كُلَّ شَيْءٍ عِلْمًا. This ayah that means, my Lord has encompassed everything in knowledge. So that's a confirmation of the attribute. Didn't say he encompassed everything by himself. It says he encompassed everything by knowledge. إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينَ. Surely Allah, He is the provider. Ar-Razzaq. Dhul Quwwah, possessor of power. So that's the attribute. Al-Quwwah, power, means Qudrah. Al-Mateen, the powerful. Ar-Razzaq, that's a name. Al-Mateen, that's a name. But Quwwah, that's the attribute. And Allah says, فَعَالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ. He does whatever He wills. The verb yurid, wills. It would not be confirmed without the confirmation of its origin, which is the attribute. Same thing. If we can use the verb, that means the attribute is confirmed. If we say wills, that means he's attributed with will. If we say he's a willer, that means he's attributed with will. If we say he wills, that means he's attributed with will. So what do you have here? You have the attribute, you have the action, the verb, and you have the adjective. This is language we're talking here. Language. Linguistically here, what do you have? We're talking about three types of words. We're talking about some nouns, these nouns that I'm just going to call it for now, the attribute itself. This noun, which is the attribute itself. Knowledge, power, will, etc. You have verbs. So you can say he hears, he sees, he knows, he speaks, he spoke, for example, past tense, present tense, etc. So if you confirm the verb, means you have to confirm the attribute itself. And you can use the adjective, the descriptive name. He's a knower, he's hearer, he's seer. Then this means he has knowledge and hearing and sight. You have to confirm the attribute too. So that's how we believe. And these are proofs from the Quran for these attributes. Either because the attribute itself was named or the verb was named. And for us, the name being named is also explicit proof. They are the ones who made a difference here. When they would say, the attributes are not confirmed in the Quran. What's confirmed in the Quran is the names. وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. He is the hearer, He is the seer. And He is Al-Alim. وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. He is the knower, He is the powerful. We say, no, it's not true that the attributes are not confirmed. Only the names are confirmed. Number one, we just now saw some ayahs that have the attributes in them. Dhul Quwwah, the one who has power. Ilma, the one who has knowledge. And number two, the name is a proof for the attribute in the first place. You are the deceptive people who are trying to separate those two. That's clear?
So what do they say about that? If it says Al-Mateen, what do they say?
Al-Mateen is the name. So they're going to say, yes, name is there. They're going to say, but what's the attribute? It's not in the Quran. The attribute that the name comes from. Because the attribute is the source for the name and the verb. So the attribute, for example, is knowledge. That's the source for saying knowledgeable. And that's the source for saying knows. So For mateen, for example, they say mateen, okay, that's a name. What's the source for that? Whatever is the source for that, it's not in the Quran. Only the name is there. So they say he has the name. And so he's mateen by himself, not by an attribute. So the verb wills would not be confirmed without the confirmation of its origin, which is the will. If it is confirmed about the will, knowledge, and power, then it is confirmed about the rest of the attributes, since no one differentiates between them in this issue. Meaning, okay, we just saw mentioning in the Quran of the attribute ilm, knowledge, and the attribute quwwah, power, and the attribute, and we saw the verb yurid, wills. So what about the other attributes though? What about sama', basar, and kalam, and other attributes? Some of them are mentioned in the Quran and some of them are not mentioned in the Quran, even if the name is. Kalam is mentioned in the Quran. Allah says, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. Allah spoke a speech to Moses. Taklim means kalam, exactly. Taklim means kalam, exactly. Kalam is a variant of the word taklim. Just like salam is a variant of the word taslim. Arabic is a language of patterns. Kalam comes from taklim, like salam comes from taslim. It's the same. But other attributes of his are not mentioned in the Quran, the attribute itself, like sama', hearing, and basar, sight, and haya, life. Those are the names. As-Sami', that's his name, the hearer. Al-Basir, the seer. So whoever has the name has the attribute. Basically, put it this way: any attribute, anytime. This is, consistent. Anytime something has a name, a descriptive name, it should have the attribute. So if you describe someone as, for example, big, then he should have bigness. The attribute is bigness. Or small, the attribute is smallness. Or any other description. Or red, or etc. No. So even for the creation, if you said about the creation, he's knowledgeable. That means you must be confirming for him an attribute of knowledge. But it's going to be created knowledge. It's not possible that he's knowledgeable and he doesn't have any knowledge. It doesn't make sense. That's what the Mu'tazila are saying. They're saying he's knowledgeable without knowledge. We say this is unacceptable. Doesn't make sense. So some of the attributes of Allah are mentioned in the Quran. Not talking about the names, talking about the attributes. Some of them are mentioned in the Quran and some of them are not. So what about the ones that are not? They're still confirmed anyway. Meaning, the mentioning of the name is enough to confirm the attribute. And the mentioning of other attributes is enough to confirm these attributes. Because it says in the Quran, ilm, knowledge, and quwwah, power, and taklim, speech. Then he has also haya, life, and sama', hearing, and basar, sight. Even if those particular words didn't come in the Quran, they're still confirmed anyway. This is all clear?
Did you say it's the same for verbs too?
Yes. Yes, it is. The same for verbs. Therefore, invalid is their claim that they have confirmed the names because of the textual evidence and because they are known in the religion by necessity, but the attributes are not confirmed in the texts. So all this talk here is very different from Wahhabi belief. You might not come across someone who talks like this. But if you do, at least maybe you'll be prepared, or at least you would be, you have some awareness. But there are some people, they still talk like this. I was surprised. Because what we learned is that the Mu'tazila were wiped out. They were wiped out, but they still have some remnants. So here and there's a person who believes like Mu'tazila. Some scholars have considered that the confirmation of the name in the texts is a documented confirmation of the attribute for the aforementioned reason. Invalid is their claim that they have confirmed the names because of the textual evidence and because they are known in the religion by necessity. Meaning, if you were to say to one of them, how do you confirm that he's knower and seer and hearer? They would say, because these names are confirmed in the Quran. And these names are known in the religion by necessity. But they would say, but the attributes, though, they're not confirmed in the texts. So we're going to say, yes, they are. They're going to say, no, they're not. We'll say, yes, they are. Allah says, وَسِعَ رَبِّي كُلَّ شَيْءٍ عِلْمًا عِلْمًا. And Allah says, ذُو الْقُوَّةِ, power. وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا, speech. The attributes are mentioned in the texts. So I don't know how they're going to answer that. MashaAllah. But whenever you're dealing with misguided people and deviant people, you can't be surprised when they contradict themselves. When someone has a creed that's different from the creed of Ahlus Sunnah, he will contradict himself. If you don't want to contradict yourself, stick to the creed of Ahlus Sunnah, and you'll be straight, insha'Allah ta'ala. So, some scholars have considered that the confirmation of the name in the texts is a documented confirmation of the attribute. And that's right. We say that. That's correct. According to this, Abu al-Walid ibn Rushd said, there is no difference between someone who said, Allah does not have knowledge, and someone who said, Allah is not knowledgeable. There's no difference between those two. This is why the Mu'tazila, who denied the attribute and confirmed its judgment, they denied the attribute and they confirmed the hukum, which is the name derived from the attribute. They are judged as blasphemers. You understand that? They denied the attribute, but they confirmed its judgment. His judgment means, what's the judgment of someone who has knowledge? You'd say his judgment is that he's knowledgeable. So they're confirming the judgment, but they're denying the attribute in the first place. So this is kufr. Shaykh Abdullah says, there should be no doubt in this being kufr. If someone says some talk like this to you, that's kufr. The result of denying the attribute is the denial of its hukum in reality. Meaning we say to them, for you to say he's knowledgeable not by knowledge is really like you're saying he's not knowledgeable. You're just double talking. These deniers have differed. A faction of the philosophers called As-Salbiyah said that the meaning of him being knowledgeable and powerful, etc., is that he is not ignorant or weak, etc. This talk implies that the characteristic would also be knowledgeable and powerful, since it is not ignorant or weak. Okay, so we need to break this down here. Some philosophers, they said, because all this talk is originally from philosophy. So what you had was, those old philosophers, they are from before Prophet Isa, those Greek ones. They are from before Prophet Isa, even alayhi salatu wassalam. And so they had all kinds of ideas. And so then Prophet Muhammad came, alayhi salatu wassalam, and he came with knowledge. like all of the prophets. He came with science like the prophets did. So then his knowledge spread. So people became knowledgeable because of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and their understanding of things and their intelligence improved because of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even some of the bad people, they get some taste of the knowledge from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it enhances them, although they're bad people. So there's some bad people like that. So this happened to some people. Then what happened? They got some enhancement from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then they got their hands on philosophy too. So what did they do with the books of those old philosophers? They basically built on it. They not improved. Improved is not a good word here, but they built on it. So that's where they get all this stuff from. They say they're Muslims and they talk like philosophers. So there was a group of philosophers. They said the meaning of God being knowledgeable and powerful is that he's not ignorant and he's not weak. So this is falsehood here. This is also a delicate trick, because this statement implies that Allah is inanimate. That's the implication. The implication that he's inanimate, an inanimate thing like a rock or a door. When they said the meaning of him being knowledgeable and powerful is that he's not ignorant and he's not weak. The implication here is that he's like an inanimate thing. How's that? Because the inanimate thing, like this slipper here, this slipper, it's not ignorant and it's not knowledgeable either. It's neither ignorant nor knowledgeable. That's because it's not alive. Life is the validator of knowledge and ignorance. And life is the validator of sight and blindness. And life is the validator of hearing and deafness. We don't say that this slipper is ignorant and deaf and blind. No, we don't say that. It's not that. But also, it's not knowledgeable and hearing and seeing. Why? Because it's inanimate. It doesn't apply. It's not even alive in the first place, so that it could be one of these two. So these people are saying, Allah, God, he doesn't have attributes, they say. So then we say to them, but he's knowledgeable and powerful. And you say he's knowledgeable and powerful too. So how can you say he doesn't have attributes? So they'd say, what we mean is he's not ignorant and he's not weak. So we say, just to say not ignorant and not weak, that would not exclude him from being an inanimate thing. Because the inanimate thing is not ignorant and it's not weak. But also it's not knowledgeable and it's not powerful. So, do you understand? Is it clear for you?
So they like the negating attributes, or they don't?
We're not talking about the negating attributes. It's the same word, though. A group of philosophers called the Salbiya. These philosophers, they're called Salbiya. Deniers, negators. They're atheists. But not straightforward atheists. They're just like the ones we're talking about. So, what do they say? They say, he's knowledgeable and he's powerful. So we say to them, so you're saying he has attributes? They say, no, he doesn't have attributes. So we would say to him, how he would be knowledgeable and powerful if he doesn't have attributes? They say, because knowledgeable means he's not ignorant. And powerful means not weak. So, but we say then no, because not ignorant doesn't mean necessarily knowledgeable. Not weak doesn't necessarily mean powerful. Right? Just like the other examples I gave you. So that's the meaning of this talk of theirs. It says here, a faction of the philosophers called Salbiya said that the meaning of him being knowledgeable and powerful is that he's not ignorant, he's not weak. So this is unacceptable talk. This is still blasphemy. This talk implies that the characteristic would also be knowledgeable and powerful. Yeah, or even just this slipper. Since this slipper it's not ignorant and it's not weak, then according to them it would be valid that the slipper is knowledgeable and powerful. So that's why when they say it, when they talk like this, they're implying that Allah is an inanimate thing. That's clear? So this type of talk, Wahhabis are far from this type of talk. They have nothing to do with this. They don't like that. Yani, we don't like the kufr. We don't like the kufr aspect, but they don't like things that are intellectual in nature and require thinking. So this is other end of the spectrum. Now you're talking to philosophers, atheists. This is some professor you might have somewhere in a university somewhere. He studied some philosophy or something. Or this is going to be somebody you're going to meet one day, inshallah, maybe in a scholastic setting. Who knows? You never know. Maybe even on a street corner. He's hanging with thugs and really he's an intellectual. He's a deviant one, though. A deviant intellectual. Others claim that Allah has ahwal, circumstances, not existent nor non-existent, called alimiyah, knowledgeableness, and qadiriyah, powerfulness, and hayyiyah, aliveness. So this is ridiculous. We don't have to go. This one's very stupid saying. But some of them said that. They said, these circumstances are neither existent nor non-existent. We say to them that that's impossible. Because there's nothing between existence and non-existence. There's no medium between existence and non-existence. Like, there's a medium between standing up and laying down, which is sitting. You can go from laying down to sitting to standing up, or from standing up to sitting to laying down. But when it comes to existence and non-existence, there's nothing in between. So it's not valid to say Allah has circumstances that are neither existent nor non-existent. These circumstances are His knowledgeableness and His powerfulness and His aliveness. So, and these types of people, they don't have an inclination to follow the revelation. So it's not difficult for them to say things that don't have any religious source, because they don't really give the religious source proper credit. The latter-day Mu'tazila, like Abu Hashim, denied the attributes while confirming their derived descriptions. That's what we've been saying now. They denied the attributes, but they confirmed the description that one would have if he had such an attribute. Thus, they said that Allah is knowledgeable by His self, not by knowledge, powerful by His self, not by power, etc. They argued by the saying of Allah Ta'ala. Yani, do they have any ayah or hadith or anything, since they claim to be Muslims? They would say, yeah, we have this ayah. لَقَدْ كَفَرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ ثَالِثُ ثَلَاثَةٍ. By God, those who said that Allah is the third of three have blasphemed. So this has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. How did they connect this ayah to what we're talking about? Because what they're saying is, well, if you say He has attributes, then you're saying there's more than one eternal one. And then they're saying, so that's like what the Christians said when they said there's Trinity. So we say, no, not at all. You missed the mark there. Jahm ibn Safwan used to say that it is not permissible to use for Allah any word that is used for the slaves. So it is not said, according to him, that Allah is alive or knowledgeable or willing or even existing, because all of these attributes are used for the slaves. He said that it is said about Allah that He is doer and creator and giver of life and giver of death, because these are not said about the slaves. Meaning, the last case here is the case about what's called al-ittifaq fil lafz, which is agreement in wording. Agreement in wording. Meaning we're using the same word for Allah and for the creation, but a different meaning. So we say, for example, Allah exists and we exist, and He knows and we know. Yani He has knowledge and we have knowledge. And like that, those things that you know already. And there's some words that we can't even use for the creations. Like we say, Allah is beginningless. Can't say about a creation is beginningless. And we can say Allah doesn't need anything. Absolutely, you can't say about a creation He doesn't need anything absolutely. And there's some things that you can't say it about Allah, you can say it about the creation. Like you could say about the creation, He's intelligent. You wouldn't say Allah is intelligent. So our focus here is al-ittifaq fil lafz, agreement in expression. When you're using the same word for God and for the creation. But although it's the same word, it's going to mean something different. So there's this deviant person, Jahm ibn Safwan. He said, any word that you use for the creation, you can't use it for Allah. So he went astray right there. And so according to him, you cannot say Allah is alive or knowledgeable or willing. I'm sorry. The willing part, that needs to be removed. Yeah. Because Jahm ibn Safwan, he believes that the slaves don't have any will. He believes that we don't choose our own actions. He believes that we are like feathers stuck in the wind. According to Jahm ibn Safwan, if you say, the boy ran, that's like saying the water ran. Meaning, according to him, the boy had no will, just like the water has no will. Okay. So Jahm ibn Safwan, that's one thing he believed, that the slaves don't have any will. He also has another belief. His other belief is, any word that you use for a slave, you can't use it for Allah. So then according to that, since according to him the slaves don't do anything, you can say Allah is the doer. But you can't say the slave is a doer, according to him. And since the slaves, you say the slaves are alive, you can say the slave is alive, but you can't say Allah is alive, according to him. Because he's saying, don't you say about the slave that he's alive? Yes, then you can't say Allah is alive. Don't you say that the slave has knowledge? Yes, then you can't say Allah has knowledge. That's according to him. So according to him, do you say that the slave has power? He would say, no, slaves don't have any power. So he would say, so therefore you can say Allah has power because the slaves don't have any power. So that's how he went. So Jahm ibn Safwan, he used to say that it's not permissible to use for Allah any word that is used for the slaves. So it is not said that he is alive or knowledgeable or even existing, according to Jahm ibn Safwan. So he's denying what? He's denying al-ittifaq fil lafz, agreement in wording between Allah and the slaves. He says, because all of those attributes are for the slaves, so you can't say them about Allah. He said, it is said about Allah that He is the doer and the creator and the giver of life and the giver of death, because these are not said about the slaves. So this Jahm ibn Safwan, he was not a knowledgeable person, but he was the head of his own sect. They're called the Jahmiyyah. They believe that the slaves don't have any will, and they believe that paradise and hell will come to an end. Jahm ibn Safwan, la'natullahi alayh, wa subhanallahi wa bihamdi.